So, Blake, I'm going to turn over to you here. What are some local trends here to look out for in 2023 and maybe for, call it, the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I think something that I saw last year in the last 6 to 9 months, especially being pushed through like the RIAs and whatnot, Airbnbs. And like I think Airbnb used to be thought of as more of a destination place or something you had to have, and I think we're seeing investors are seeing success in normal neighborhoods. Meaning just like a regular neighborhood, you can rent out your place or room and the cash flow that you can get. Um, and so I think my concern is like in the next 2 to 5 years, like what does that look like? Is that going to become oversaturated? As everyone starts buying these, and like what does that look like? I mean, it's definitely like as downtown has changed. I think people are traveling. They definitely like a place to live, stay versus a hotel. And obviously the amount of rent you can collect is way better than what you're going to get on a long-term tenant. But when does that become oversaturated? And I think especially for newer investors that are jumping in and running their numbers. I mean, a lot of these new investors are like, okay, well, I can make all this money on a Airbnb, but what happens when that slows down or the city cracks down more on their restrictions and guidelines on the Airbnb side? So, seeing a trend on that side of the Airbnb is I'm doing it as well. I've kind of jumped in on some of these Airbnbs, but I also, with the known fact that we talked a little bit earlier, like well capitalized, right? Like, so I could cash flow it if I had to put a long-term tenant back in there, or hopefully we have, should be buying it with the right amount of equity that hopefully we could sell it if we had to as well. So those are some I'm noticing, and I think we got to be careful of as everyone jumps into that.
Man, how about this for a business model? I talked to a kid the other day, and he's probably 25, 28, something like that. But he's out here in the suburbs, and he literally bought a house down the street he bought it 3.5% down the street from his parents' house, lives in it all week, and then does Airbnb and gets like $2,400 every weekend. He just goes and sleeps at if he's not crashing one of his buddy's house, and he defaults back to his parents' house. But
that's awesome.
He's literally making all that. Like, that's such a great way to get into and dip your feet into real estate. So
there you go. You also said he's 25, 28. I bet you he's like 35. Everyone just feels like they're 25 to us now.
I know. No, he's younger. He is.
So, all right, Matt, your answer. What are some trends to look out for here?
Yeah, I think bigger units, more open spaces. COVID, I think, was a catalyst for this. But actually, pre-COVID, I don't know if you guys paid attention or remember, but there was a period where building smaller units to get more density on a site was a little bit of a trend in housing. And I don't know if that's still absorbing as quickly or as high of demand as this is now. Because I think, being stuck at home through COVID, coming out of that cycle, the value that people place now on having a bigger, more open space that they can settle into for longer seems to be renting faster for more money and much higher demand. In addition to having outdoor space, anything that folks can do to buy properties that incorporates, you like a 1-bed plus den or a 2-bed, 2-bath with an office or something like that tends to rent really well. The bigger units are renting a little bit better than they used to, 3 beds, for example. And studios still rent as well, smaller ones. But I do think that right now there is just a lot of demand for these units in that kind of middle tier of larger ones with a den, or good size 2 with a spare room. And just because I think of the macro trend of more folks, there's just a deeper renter pool in general. Moving's expensive. It's inconvenient. It's tough. More people are just sort of accepting the fact that they are renters longer, and settling into a unit that you're familiar with, that you can call home. It's less transient if you have a space that allows people to do that. And we're seeing a lot of this product hit the market from developers just building a larger product. Rather than more units in one site, more density, they're just maximizing the space in the units themselves. Even if they end up with less, I think it's a safer play right now. You've just got more tenants.
Yeah, I even personally, I'm seeing that, the formal dining room, right? You have a 4-room apartment that's a 1-bed. A lot of times you'd go in there and make that a 2-bed. So you just have kitchen, living area, 2 bedrooms, no formal dining. And I think that 1 bed with the formal dining, it's back, right? You can demand a pretty high number on that thing.
And you'll still rent those smaller tubes, those 4-room tubes, they'll rent. There's a market for that, but it seems like it's more transient. You end up spending more turning units, you just, you don't retain tenants as long. So, we'll talk later about, kind of defining an investment strategy, kind of figure out who you are as a real estate investor. And, I think for me, for example, I like real estate that doesn't require as much of my full-time attention because I have other things to do.
Cool. Jake, anything to add here?
Yeah, real quick. On Matt's similar mindset, the 2 bathrooms, having that second bathroom and obviously bigger bedrooms help, but I'm seeing a disproportionate jump from like rents for 3.2s versus 3.1s, right? A 3.1 in a certain neighborhood that can rent for $1,500 is renting for $2,100 or $2,200 in the same neighborhood if it's got an extra bathroom, because it opens up and invites roommates, right? 3 roommates sharing a place. It's so much more realistic with the second bathroom. So watch out for that, and watch out for the and I think a lot of these rent or build to rent buildings you see going up in Woodlawn and some of these secondary markets you're seeing, all of them are 3.2s. No one's building really 2.1s, in my opinion, at least the ones that are selling. And I'll make a quick comment up in Airbnb as well as a lot of people can show the Airbnb income, and that's great. It's Mark's example, that kid is crushing it likely, but no lender is going to look at the income approach, right? So a lot of these places, if you want to buy one that's already doing well, you're going to have to come in with cash or a higher loan to value ratio, because the appraisals just aren't going to match what that unit is making and maybe typically what those sellers want for those type of units. So just look out for the Airbnb income having causing issues with appraisals.